Welcome back, everyone, and this episode I am going to be talking about my family. You're going to get to know my family a little bit. I guess I'll go back to quite a few years ago when my husband and I met.
So my name's Chad Edwards. Most people don't know me until I introduce myself as Simone's husband. So that's kind of the running joke in pickleball right now. I'll say, hey, I'm Chad, and they're like, who? Simone's husband. Oh, okay, now I got you, now I know. I used to travel with the Australian national team or with travel teams over here to the US, but I remember one year, I think it was 1997, I came over for the World Championships in Fairview Heights, Illinois. All the teams got together for kind of like the welcome meeting, not even the ceremony. And we get out of the bus and we show up, and there's an interpreter waiting there for us to help interpret. And we're like, we all speak English, and they're like, yeah, but nobody understands you. So we're like, oh, okay. Well, we'll make sure that we speak clearly. So then we had a couple of reporters come up, and they were asking some of the guys questions and everything, and we thought we'd have a little bit of fun as far as that we ride kangaroos to school, and they wait there while we're at school, and then when we come, we just call them a whistle, and they come and we jump on them and ride back. The other thing that we're joking around is that everybody wrestles crocodiles in Australia. It kind of goes on a height to length ratio. So if you're 6 foot tall, you wrestle a 6 meter croc. And we didn't expect anything of it, and it all ended up in the newspaper the next day that they actually printed it that the Australian national team rides kangaroos to school. They wrestle crocodiles. There's drop bears, which are koalas. They just fall out of the trees. Like it's just a regular occurrence. But I actually grew up on some acreage, on about 6 acres, 5 minutes from the beach. But I had a pet kangaroo when I was growing up, and it was just like one of the dogs. It would eat with the dogs, it would walk around with the dogs, it would come down to the bus stop with me every morning. And its mom actually got hit by a car, and the Joey was in the pouch. So we saw that, we took the Joey out and we raised it. So yeah, I had a pet kangaroo called Sky. I got into pickleball after almost 30 years in baseball. I turned down a pro contract before college. Out of high school, I went to play college baseball at Fresno State University out in Fresno, California. And that's how Simone and I actually met.
We just kind of saw each other from far away. I was an international student, and so was he. So we met in one of those meetings, and not very long after, about a couple months later, we started dating.
We've been together for 19 years now.
Fast forward 7 years, and we got married. Fast forward another 2 years, we had Alexis. We got married in 2007, and then had Alexis in September of 2009.
What's your name?
Alexis Edwards.
And how old are you, Alexis?
I'm 9.
Alexis was, when I think about it, sometimes it's pretty scary. We had. I had somewhat of a smooth pregnancy, but when Alexis was born, the labor itself took 18 hours. It was insane. My mom came from Brazil, and both of Chad and my mom were horrified. I was in so much pain. I was traumatized for a little while, but what happened was that she didn't want to come out. But that actually affected when she did come out. It was 5/25 on September 18th of 2009. She came out blue, and she wasn't breathing. She was actually, the noise I still remember, she was wheezing. And the nurse tried to bring it to me, and I was just like, no, take her, get her to breathe, get something. And so there was chaos in the room, and she was taken to the NICU, and Chad and I didn't get to see her until 10 p.m. that night. We had no idea what was going on. I just remember I was so tired, but I was so nervous. I was crying, and there was just a lot of drama. And then when we went up to the NICU at 10, we found out what had happened, because she was my water had broken, that she was swimming on that liquid, and she inhaled everything into her lungs. And then she was born with liquid in her lungs, which then became pneumonia. So she had to stay in the NICU for 5 days and, fight. And, they did a great job at Sparrow Hospital up in Michigan. And it was amazing. The day that we got to take her home, we were just like, oh my gosh, just thank goodness she's okay, and we're gonna be okay. And then actually when she came home, she would switch. She would sleep all day and then be up all night. And it was like, okay, we thought everything was gonna be okay, but now we have no sleep whatsoever. But she was healthy, she was eating well, and everything was good. When we were in Michigan, she would have a little bit of asthma problems, but today she's actually okay.
What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is a red panda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen a red panda?
Yes, at the zoo.
Yeah, when we went on one of our trips to Washington, D.C.
And in Michigan, many times.
Yeah. Do you like playing pickleball?
Not really. Not that much. Towers gold, city little. These ants can hold the world, but it'll never be enough. Never be enough for me. I'm off the deep end, watch as I dive in. I'll never meet the ground. Rise to the surface where they can't hurt us. We're far from the shallow now.
So you said you like to sing. Who are your favorite singers, or who are your favorite artists?
The Beatles.
And the most important question, who's your favorite? Mama or
Both of you.
Good answer. Smart answer. But it's really me though, right?
And then actually when Alexis was about a year old, we thought, okay, we're not gonna have another kid. I needed time to recover mentally, physically, all of it. So we're like, okay, we're gonna get a dog. So we went to the pound, and of course, if you go to the pound, you can't leave the pound without a dog. We went to meet Charlie, and Charlie was this beautiful dog. She's still a beautiful dog. We took Alexis, and Alexis was walking at that time, just barely. And Charlie was amazing with her, and I could not believe, this dog is coming home with us, no doubt. It didn't take very long, sign the papers, take her home. We didn't ask many questions. That's probably, at the time we just kind of fell in love with her. But Charlie's a runner. She likes to run away, and that she had 3 owners before us, and she ran away from all 3. And somehow, she always, she comes back, but it's a hard work. We almost lost her one night in Michigan. She decided to run away, and in a storm, a blizzard came. So we were out in the blizzard looking for her, and no Charlie. And so we went home. It was, everybody's devastated. Alexis is crying, I'm crying. Chad is like, okay, I'll go out again. And at that point, it was just a blizzard. It was awful. And I was trying to prepare Alexis for the worst. And then next morning, actually, we got a call from the vet clinic, and one of our neighbors took her in. And because she had lost her collar, took her just to the hospital at Michigan State, to the vet hospital in Michigan State, and she was chipped. So they found us, and we couldn't believe it. It was like, oh my goodness, we're so lucky. And then came Landon. Landon, he was born in November, really close to my birthday actually. He was born November 3rd. I'm November 7th, so he was my birthday present. November 3rd of 2013, and he was completely opposite of Alexis. It was 4 hours. It was pretty much we had to run to the hospital so that baby wouldn't come out like at home or on the way to the hospital. It was like, get there, get to the, it was like, okay, he's coming. And boom, here he came, boom, coming out.
Hi. My name is Landon Edwards.
Landon Jardim Edwards.
No. Landon Edwards.
No, Landon Jardim Edwards.
Yeah.
He was a healthy baby. He slept really well until about 3-4 months. He was 15 pounds. He was like a big old baby, maybe 5-6 months actually. And then it was a nightmare. He would not keep anything in, no formula. We tried, I don't even know how many formulas we tried, probably 10, maybe more formulas. And he wouldn't keep anything in, so he would just constantly be throwing up and start losing weight. And we were like, oh my goodness, he has food allergies. What is it? What in the world? Can't find a formula. And finally, we found something. It was for sensitive, and then it got better. He started getting healthy again and eating and gaining weight. And then we're like, oh, we're done with this one. What's next? And then, of course, when you say that, then something else happens, which it was very, very scary. When Landon was 1 year, he was starting to walk, and things were, when you start, when a baby starts to walk, you can only imagine, everything is very unknown, very scary. So anytime he would fall, or there would be, any sense of something is wrong, he would panic a little bit, and whenever he started to cry, he would cry and hold his breath, and then go into a seizure, and then sometimes he would pass out. And we're like, oh no, what now? So anyways, you have to see this photo because I actually wasn't there when he got the testing done, but my husband took him, Chad took him, and the kid, poor kid, has like electrodes all over his head. So they do they try to do a brain test, and of course, they do all these testing, and everything is fine with his brain. There's nothing wrong. He is fine. And we go, at that point, I think we had gone to a few doctors, and finally one doctor goes, he has holding breath syndrome. It's like, what in the world is that? So pretty much whenever he would find himself on an unknown situation, a panic, crying, anything like that, he literally would hold his breath. And then, because he was holding his breath, he would knock him, he would go into the seizure because he wasn't getting enough oxygen, whatever. So he would then go into the seizure. Because we had hardwood floors, as soon as he started to cry, either Chad or I had to sprint to him because we had to grab him, otherwise he would collapse on the hardwood floor. I mean, you should have heard some of the thumps sometimes, it was like this, because again, he would have fallen on the hardwood floor, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. And we were like, okay, so what do we do? We can't shelter him from scary situations. We can't not have him, play or do things that sometimes he's gonna cry. He's a baby, he's a little kid, and the doctor said, well, it will run its course and it'll go away. We're like, oh, great. Woo! So how long do we have of that? Well, it went on for a little while, actually, but we learned to deal with it, and it didn't scare us as much anymore. At the beginning, we were petrified. I just remember, what is going on? Is something gonna happen to his brain, but the doctor assured us that he would be okay, and again, he's a healthy baby, hyper, everything is fine, always good up there, so it's great. Feel very lucky. What is your favorite thing to do? Boxing, yes, that's for sure. When Landon became, with all that was going on, we're like, oh, we don't have enough on our plate. We have Alexis, Charlie, Landon. Why not? Let's go and go to the pound. Guess what? We come home with another dog. It's like we're not busy enough. Let's get one more family member. But of course, then we came home with Molly. That dog is super hyper. The first day she came home, she almost destroyed our house. She comes in running, jumps. She was so excited. You can tell, like, oh my gosh, like this is it. Life is changing for her. She jumps on the couch, throws the cat, like the cat. We're like, oh my goodness, what in the world are we getting ourselves into? But she just fit right in with, you know, the rambunctious kids we have, and her and Charlie are like, you know, this love and hate. They lick each other's ears and then they fight. Somewhat like Landon and Alexis, they fight and then they love each other. So yeah, so it works. The family dynamic, crazy, chaotic, but super entertaining. I'll tell you that, and fun. Yeah, I think we're done. This is it. You know, I think we have enough on our plate. But the kids are now 9 and 5. And the dogs are actually pretty much the same age. Charlie is 10 and Molly is 6 this year as well. So whatever it is, it works, and you know, we're very blessed, very happy.
Obviously, being an Australian, one of my favorite things to eat is Vegemite. Simone thinks it's the most disgusting thing ever. So then she converted Alexis to thinking it's the most disgusting thing ever. So once Landon was born, as soon as he was born, I stuck some Vegemite in his mouth. So at least I have somebody that wants to eat it with me in the household. So anytime that we make that, you know, we'll do some Vegemite on toast or on crackers or whatever. Landon and I sit down and eat it, and the girls just stand there and just, you know, make faces and oh my God, it smells so bad. They've never tasted it. They've never tasted it, but they think it tastes bad and it smells bad.
Not to say that there aren't rough times. There are a lot of tough times, a lot, on a daily basis. But you know, with love and just caring for one another, we get through those times and make it out stronger at the end.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my video. My sister's behind the camera, and here she is.
I was raised, and you know, Chad and I come from different cultures, and we are raised very differently. But if there was one thing that we learned throughout the years, is that we got to be on the same page when it comes to raising the kids and the way we want to educate them, and what we, you know, what do we want, like their ethics, their morals, what we want out of them, and you know, that's ultimately the struggle that any couple, any family goes through. But for us is kind of coming in the middle, you know, a Brazilian, an Australian coming to America, and kind of, you know, finding out what it is that we want. How do we want our kids to grow up, and what we want them, you know, to be as human beings? And it's been a great process. I just think that there's no job like being a parent, and it's the toughest one that you will ever have. But I wouldn't trade it for anything else. So that always comes first. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you have any questions or anything, always feel free to ask. Thank you.